Gather round as I talk again in front of you on a screen for a little bit and you listen to me. Welcome. As we all know, one of the best times of year is coming up, and that is event season! Obviously, I'm super excited for event season. I'm super excited to get out there, get fighting, meet more people, have new experiences. Because event season is coming up, I wanted to talk about an event I said I would talk about a really long time ago, and I keep saying I'm going to talk about it. So finally, I will talk about it. That event was the running of the Blood Wolves 2. Right off the bat, we show up, we're in our car, Rob's in the gob, we get checked in at Troll and we start perusing, and the event site is beautiful. It was super clean. We had the vendors right there next to Troll. Rat and I just, slept in the car because we're kind of savages, no lie. First thing I want to mention is that Bloodhorde was incredibly accommodative. They had people reaching out to not just me, but everyone around me, everyone I saw, making sure they were having fun, making sure everyone was staying safe, making sure that things were going, correctly, things were lining up correctly, and everyone was having a good time. Bloodhorde had a big vested interest in this event doing well, and it showed. The first day there, I didn't do too much. I fought in the pit for a little bit, met some new people. It was a great time. If you fought me, I had an absolute blast. I even learned some things. I, saw some new gear. Now, of course, the nightlife was great. I had a lot of people that invited me to their camp, a lot of people that hung out with me, which was really cool. So obviously, if you're part of that crew, you know who you are. Much love to everyone that said hi. Much love to everyone that hung out with me. The day fighting was really fun. Now, obviously, the day fighting was a standard the games were pretty standard. It wasn't anything generally revolutionary in the type of games that they were doing, but everyone had such a great time that it didn't need to be revolutionary new game types. They were pretty standard, but they were very solidly run and very solidly thought out. The people running the event were swapping people around, swapping teams, moving stuff around, making sure that the fights were fair, the teams were well balanced, and that's huge in my opinion. That's absolutely huge. It was pretty rainy there, but it's Pennsylvania, so what are you gonna do? It's gonna rain in PA. Everyone knows that. Everyone that's fought like this knows that. Now, overall, the Heralds did a great job. They were really on top of stuff, and the Heralds were always there when you needed them. There was nothing that didn't escape their eye. That being said, they were slightly more lax on certain situations, and they were truly trying. You could tell they were trying to foster this environment of non-competitiveness and more celebration of just being able to be there and fight, which I really respect, and I really enjoyed that. So after the awesome day fighting, and after I completely got my butt kicked, it moved on to the tournaments. Now, the tournaments, I spent most of the time filming, I guess besides the 4 Horsemen. But I'll be honest, 4 Horsemen's fun for the first 3 fights for me, then it's kind of okay, I've seen them all. I'm sorry if I'm offending purists out there. It's just 4 Horsemen's not my deal. The tournament was super cool. There were some of the greatest fights I've ever seen in those tournament fights. I learned a ton just by watching, and that's something that I can't necessarily say about every single tournament I've been to. Wild fights in that tournament. Oh my god! Now, one thing I do kind of have to mention, I did mention earlier that the Heralds were a little bit more lax. They wanted less competitiveness. They weren't trying to mince rules or nitpick. They were trying to just keep the flow going, and a little bit of that did bleed over into the tournaments. I know there was 1 or 2 situations people weren't super happy with, but the Heralds kind of just went oh, you guys know where you are, just go back to kind of where you knew. I do think Heralds have to be a little bit more stern in tournament situations because people take these things very seriously, obviously. That being said, I'm not critiquing, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I would have run the tournament perfectly and I could do better. I think what it was and what was done, they should be absolutely 100% proud of in every single aspect. Let's talk a little bit about the venue. The venue was probably one of my favorite venues I've ever seen at an event. One thing I was so jealous of, because as I mentioned, I slept in a fucking car. There were these really cute little cabins that I think I heard held 8 people or something. They were pretty small, but they were very cute. They had lights and electricity. They apparently had a TV that worked in them. Oh man, that blew my mind. After the tournaments and the fighting, they kind of corralled us into this big mess hall, which was so pretty, and it was so warm and dry. It was awesome. It was one of the best feelings ever. And we got on this nice buffet line with warm cooked meals that I'm pretty sure volunteers or maybe workers or people staffing the resort were cooking, and oh my god, so good. I know you fight a lot everything tastes so much better when you eat it, but oh, it was so good. Mwah. It was such a great way to end the day. I got to do some really awesome hanging out that night as well. Really wonderful people. Once again, super accommodative. Everyone knows who hung out with me, you know, that you hung out with me, and that it was just a great time, and that I really appreciate everyone who did it. I felt like I didn't know as many people at this event that I usually go to. None of my unit was there. None of my like super close friends were there. So everyone that hung out with me, really, it meant a lot to me. So thank you. Now the last thing I want to talk about are the vendors. The vendors were so cool. I mentioned that they were like right next to Troll, but like we had like Tiny Warpath there. We had Heads or Tails. We had Log from Fighting Urkai was selling these awesome like wooden Stargazer chairs there. Like there were some really great vendors. It took all of my will to not just like buy everything, because it was just a wonderful time. I overall am just so satisfied with this event, and I think that everyone who helped run that event should be 100% satisfied with how it went down. And I am incredibly excited to go to Running of the Blood Wolves 3, where you can catch me there from September 22nd to 25th, and I didn't just read that off the piece of paper next to me. I had that memorized. So I will see you there if you're there, and I hope to see a lot of you during this coming event season, where you can expect a ton more videos to come from me.